Hello, I'm Jared Gay with PWEA. Today's update was adapted from a speech I delivered in front of the school board back in October. Unfortunately, it is just as relevant today. In searching for reasons why division leadership and their bargaining team have been so antagonistic towards their employees' union, I came across a piece of information that might reveal some context. I often find that people are surprised when we talk about how anti-labor Superintendent McDade is, with even some teachers having a difficult time understanding why this would be the case. Hopefully, this additional context will help folks to better understand. Chiefs for Change is an organization that was started by Jeb Bush. It split from Bush's Foundation for Excellence in Education in 2015. To quote the Washington Post, since its creation, Chiefs for Change has represented a small group of state education officials who have loudly promoted an agenda shared by Bush, using test scores to evaluate teachers, A2F report cards for schools, expanding charter schools, and online learning, among other things. Many of those ideas are embraced by conservatives and opposed by teachers' unions. The foundation also connected state education officials with its corporate donors, facilitating private meetings between state decision makers and company executives at the foundation's annual meetings. That has led to some criticism that the arrangement serves as a backdoor for major corporations to urge state officials to adopt policies that would enrich the companies, end quote. So what does this have to do with our school division and PWEA? Well, Superintendent McDade is a member of Jeb Bush's Chiefs for Change and is even quoted in some of their promotional publications. Our superintendent is a member of a conservative organization that promotes all of the same discredited ideas championed in George W. Bush's No Child Left Behind law, and a conservative reform agenda that puts the interests of private companies over those of teachers, staff, and students. So is it any wonder that the line item for professional development went up by 90% in her first year as superintendent? After all, the majority of that PD is being purchased from private corporations. Is it any wonder that she has often stood in the way of good faith contract negotiations between the union and the school division? After all, anti-worker and union-busting behavior are well-worn pastimes of the far right. Is it any wonder that the school board told us via their bargaining team that the meager and inequitable counterproposal on pay that they nearly abandoned the whole CBA over was McDade's first, last, best, and final offer? That's not good faith negotiating. That's an attempt to construct a fake table intended to gaslight employees and residents into believing that the superintendent and the Democrats on the school board who hired her respect their employees' rights. It's what you might expect to see if Vince McMahon ran a school division. And is it any wonder that policies have gotten more onerous and punitive towards staff since McDade became superintendent? After all, working your employees into the ground and then replacing them with fresh graduates at the bottom of the pay scale whom you can better control is the modus operandi of the corporate class that our superintendent so badly wants to emulate. So then, is it any wonder that the huge staffing shortage in our school division doesn't seem to be a concern to her? After all, if public schools fail, the right-wing education reform agenda is perfectly comfortable falling back on their calls to privatize schools. I'm not saying that that's McDade's goal, because I won't claim to be able to read her mind, but I am saying that the logical conclusion of many of these policies is school privatization, and many of the people affiliated with Chiefs for Change have no problem making that case explicitly. Luckily, PWEA was able to secure a CBA that contains some real material gains for school employees, and the unfair labor practice charges we filed against the division were heard yesterday, with a decision hopefully coming in early February. But regardless, it should not be this difficult to get the division to act in good faith, and Superintendent McDade is responsible for a significant amount of those intentional difficulties. This has been today's PWEA Daily Update. To the public, thank you for listening, and to our colleagues, solidarity.